What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mo Buckets podcast. My name is Hoodie Ben. We got the squad here. To my right, we got Jimmy Buckets. What's good?
What's going on?
All right. And then next to him, we got Frankie Vision. What's up?
Spring weather was what's up. Loving that. Loving that breeze.
It's coming. Spring, summer, everything's coming. And then we got, rounding it off, we got Magic Mitch, the Magic Man. What's going on, man?
What up?
How you guys feeling, dude?
Feeling nice and warm, man. We got this episode sponsored by
Unofficially
by the Crown Royal. Nice and fresh splash.
What's in your cup, Frankie? What you
Northern Harvest.
Is that on the rocks though, or you go?
Keeping it classy, man. After a long day of work, a long week of work, everyone can just kick back, relax for a minute. Enjoy some basketball content.
Okay.
Frankie's drinking what Chuck drinks on TNT.
Whatever he's on, man. He's been fire. Compared to the players only one though.
I hate players only. I gotta say, I really dislike it.
Tell us how you really feel, Mitch. Let it go.
They're really bad.
They're stiff. The commentary,
some of them
stiff.
are good.
Yeah.
And then you have, I'm sorry, I hate Dennis Scott. His commentary.
Players only, baby.
Every time. Every time.
He's just shoving it down your throat, and we're just it's terrible.
Greg Anthony's not bad.
He's good.
Greg
He's
Anthony.
good.
Yeah. They're good in spurts, but TNT has done something crazy, man. With that, the chemistry on that Chuck panel, is so good.
C-Web's not bad
Emmy?
either.
They won an Emmy for live TV.
They always win Emmys. Yeah,
they're just having fun. I love it because you can tell they're just having fun.
Yeah.
Everything's off the cuff, and Bernie is just Ernie. Just a
Bernie, bro.
Bert and Ernie.
Frankie already tipsy,
Don't worry, man.
You cut off, Frankie. Cut off.
No, but for real though, right? Ernie, they're just having fun, and you can tell it's good for everybody.
Hold on, if we were NBA TNT, then would I be Ernie? I guess I'd be Ernie then. Who's Shaq?
I don't know.
Jimmy Shaq?
I'd be Chuck, man. I'm just gonna give you I'd be Chuck.
Frankie's Chuck.
I'd be doing some stupid.
That's true. Mitch is Kenny.
I'd be Kenny.
Kenny,
I'd be Kenny.
Yeah.
I'll be Shaq. I'll call Shaq.
Jimmy would be Shaq.
You guys got to race to the scoreboard, yo.
I'm not making a face.
That hot one? That was great. That was actually great.
Only thing I didn't like, he didn't eat the last wing.
He's
No.
so big.
He was done, yo.
Shaq
was
bitched
done.
out though.
He did, right?
He made him eat all that sauce.
Yeah.
And then they did the free throws.
And he cheated.
And it was for charity, and he still cheated. And so the guy ate the hottest wing with so much
Shaq
sauce.
Shaq sauce.
Shaq sauce.
And he wasn't even gonna put in money for the charity.
Bro, it's Shaq, man. Are you surprised? Are you really surprised? Let's be real. We should actually do that challenge one time, Hot wings?
Nah, man, I ain't about that life. I ain't about that life.
I have.
How about when someone loses the wall of L's?
Yeah, how about that, man?
Eats that chip.
Let's do that.
I have the last dab at home. We can actually try it.
You actually got it?
I have it at home.
Really?
The Redux?
The last, yeah.
Oh.
We'll get it done, man.
Okay, one time.
I like that. I like that
I'll bring it next
idea,
time.
though. Hey, let's just tally the wall of L scores, and let's see.
Whoever loses.
As of today, I'm down for that. Let's run
compound
that.
interest, man.
Let's run that one time.
All right, man.
All right, cool. So everybody feeling good? Everybody got the alcohol in the hand? Let's run this. We got the Mo Buckets of the week. It's time to talk some ball, man. And when you're talking about ball, you're talking about the hottest team in the league right now. We got the San Antonio Spurs.
Listen, I'm telling you the truth. I think it's a great city. I think they got the best organization in the NBA. But they do have some big old women down there. I mean, come on now.
These guys are winners of 9 straight. And they're 5th in the West right now. These guys are already moving up in the ranks, and they've been super impressive, man. As of late, we saw they've had great wins against Portland, Milwaukee, Denver, OKC. You're talking the top tiers right now, and they had that obviously impressive win against Golden State as well. DeRozan's rounding into shape now. He's really taken over that. Even that game in the fourth quarter, he's been really taken over. Aldridge has been balling all season. And the rest of the squad, man, everybody's stepping up. Derek White's playing well. Rudy Gay, Pirtle. These guys are all coming along, man. What do you guys think? How are you guys liking the Spurs right now?
I think tons of people had them not making the playoffs.
I.e. Jimmy Buckets.
I'm not gonna name any names, but
I'll name it. Jimmy Buckets right here.
Guilty.
No, but honestly,
they're doing well.
They're doing well, man. I think with early for me, I thought DeMar playing under Pops would be a great opportunity for him to thrive. And I think we've seen it, right? His game has it's changed. He's averaging higher assists than he's ever has before. Right? About 6 assists a game right now. His shooting percentages are better. Wow, he's shooting 45% right now from the field. His 3-pointers still aren't there, but you can tell he fits well in the system.
He's barely shooting threes this year.
He doesn't need to.
Yeah,
he doesn't need to, right? He's playing efficient. You have Aldridge spreading the floor, and the guards just play really well around him. And I think it's impressive, man. Watching that game last night against the Golden State Warriors, they played really well down the stretch. They clamped up on defense, and that's another thing. I think another thing about DeMar, he's actually improved quite a bit on defense. And not only who else do you credit to than the Spurs, right? Under the Pops system, I think it just goes to show this is what a good quality coach delivers, and that's something that we were never able to do in Toronto, which is kind of sad.
It's crazy how it's always the Spurs and Pop in particular, his teams, where you're like, who are some of these guys? Because you don't really hear about them until it's like all of a sudden they're good players. Like you have Derek White, who's been really, really good.
Unknown.
Yeah, Davis Bertans. I didn't think he'd be this good. He's
this dude can shoot.
I'm pretty sure he's third in the league right now in 3-point percentage. You have
you had Danny Green before, way back when you had
Yeah.
Danny Green. He made Tony Parker. He's had a litany of all these players that have just shined under his system, and he even reinvents players. Like look at Rudy Gay. I think he's redefined his game as well, right?
He's
And
so much better now.
He's so much better, so efficient, and he's used correctly because he's always been a solid athlete. He's always been a solid
I think that's
player.
what it is, though. Pop just brings the efficiency out of you. Like he'll just, if you're doing anything stupid, he'll nip that right out the butt.
Yeah.
Right from the get go.
Yeah.
If you do anything stupid, you're coming off the bench. If even with the first play, if you do a defensive lap, calling timeout.
No,
no one really else does that.
Holds player accountable, man.
Yeah, he does. He really does. And speaking of Pop, we know he's clinched with yet another postseason record and a winning record. This guy now has 22 straight seasons with a winning record. That's incredible. And when you're looking at his all-time winning percentage, he's got that at 68.5%, which is amazing over that that long period of span. And also, he's got the fewest days with a losing record since 1997 and 1998 season. And get this, so Spurs have had 65 days of a losing record. The second closest is Houston Rockets with 1,007 days.
That's pretty unbelievable.
This guy's only had 2 months with a losing record over 20 years.
That's ridiculous.
That's wild.
That's wild, man. Dude, I don't know how
Tim Duncan though.
Yeah, Tim Duncan, but you can't argue.
He lost. That's the year that they lost, and he got Tim Duncan.
True.
It's impressive, man. I think it just goes to show what coaching can really do. Good for Pops, man. Good for him. And I think it's not just him too. To be absolutely fair, I think the ownership, the system, the culture there, it's pretty incredible, man. We kind of
draft so well.
They draft well.
Their scouting's
and
always
they just
been
don't
growing.
leak stuff. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Their organization has there's no issues, man. You got to give
the
to
Kawhi thing last year was a bit weird, just
True.
because there's
First time
quite
ever.
there was a lot of drama around that team, but I mean, they've kept up their winning ways this season, right?
Is he the GOAT?
In terms of
GOAT?
coach,
In terms of coach?
no doubt, man.
When it's all said and done, he will be the GOAT.
Across all
Yeah.
sports too. I think I was reading this article, but probably across all sports, he's probably unanimous number one, man. I can't think of even in football compared to Boston. Dude, this guy, 22.
He's got
straight
five
seasons.
titles, 5 rings, I think.
Five
We'll
rings.
look
I
that
think
up.
once he coaches the Team USA and gets a medal, that just solidifies everything. Because now he's an Olympic gold medalist, right?
It's 5.
5 rings, right? Yeah, and just to have that longevity, right? And it's crazy because especially in today's league, you'll see coaches they don't last long, man. They're usually the first to go. And for like you said, Frankie, for that organization to have that trust with him over all these years, it's paying dividends.
Yeah, but with performance like that, it's easy to do, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
This
sure.
guy's record speaks for itself. It's we're watching one of the greats, man. I hope he has a few more years left in him because he was talking about retirement a few years ago. So we'll see, man. It would be a crazy era though.
I thought he was gonna leave when Manu left.
was talking about it, man.
Yeah, but
We'll see.
still got love for the game.
Still
All
got
right,
love for
cool.
the game,
So,
man.
yo, San Antonio. So, I guess looking into the playoffs, man, you guys think they're gonna do damage?
Yo, for sure, man. They've always come through in the playoffs. They always outperform expectations.
So how far do you think they'll go?
Right
Put you on
now,
the spot.
They're in the bottom 4. Right? So they're in the 5 to 8 bracket. They're probably going to face who are they seeded to face right now?
Portland. As of right now, Portland's 4th. San Antonio's 5th.
They could
first
take
round.
Portland. I can see them getting past over first round.
Yeah. Second round would be second round. Yeah,
That's a tough one, man. Second
that's when
round.
they take on the Giant, man. Golden State.
I don't think. Yeah, well, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean,
on
they
that one?
beat Golden State yesterday, right? But I don't think they can do it over 7
Yeah,
games.
that's
the
just
thing.
one game.
Yeah.
That's one game. I know, right? Like the problem is, we all talked about this before too. In the playoffs, it comes to superstars. Right? You can't, as great of a system as you have, you need some superstars to at least carry the offense, to carry the load.
Well,
I don't know if DeMar.
Detroit Pistons.
Yo, those are stars, man. Blake
No
Griffin-
superstars though. No, I mean like when they won with Chauncey,
Bad Boys?
Ben Wallace,
Yeah.
Rasheed. None of them were superstars, and they still won.
True. But I think
They
they all outperformed their position before too, and different era, different type of era.
True.
And you can say like that Detroit team was like an outlier.
And all of them,
Yeah.
4 Hall of Famers? Potentially 5? If you throw in Ben Wallace in there too?
Oh, Ben Wallace for sure.
Ben Wallace
Yeah,
Hall of
yeah,
Famer.
I just don't know like Rip Hamilton.
I don't know.
know.
Is Sheet a Hall of Famer?
He should be.
Sheet, really? Rasheed
I,
Wallace?
I would put him in. Maybe not first
I don't
ballot.
He
think
should be in the Hall of Fame for just ball don't lie.
Well,
That's it.
You can't guard me. You can't guard me. All right, cool. So I guess with the Spurs, we'll see where they're at right now. That we know they're smoking hot though, riding that 9-game winning streak. On the flip side, we got this week. For no buckets of the week, man. We gotta go not just a team for their performance, but this goes beyond basketball. And this week, this one goes to the New York Knicks, specifically James Dolan. This guy, he's just a weird character, man. We saw what he did. He tossed the fan out and even banned him for essentially just telling him to sell the team. Like obviously, everybody saw that video by now. I'm pretty sure it went viral. Fan just yelled out, "Hey, sell the team!" He goes up to him. He's like, "What'd you say?" He's like, "Yeah, sell the team." I was like, "All right, what do you say? Good luck watching from
On the TV or something.
yeah,
right?
watching from the couch the rest of the game." He goes to ban that fan, and then later on, I believe he was the one that got Madison Square Garden's security to confiscate all those banned Dolan T-shirts, that were given away by a law firm. It's just weird. He's just trying to impose kind of this, I guess, like this dictatorship or his will over the fans of New York, and we know how that works. We know that fans have a say. We know fans are connected to the game. They should have a right to express themselves, but he's really just trying to put the clamps on some of these. What do you guys think, man?
Like you said that he's a weird character. I don't think he's weird. He's literally a man-child that got that inherited his dad's and his parents' fortune, basically. And that's how he basically became the owner of MSG.
He just wants to play his music, sing in his band. That's all he wants, right?
Yeah,
He
but
actually
like-
has a band.
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah,
He has his own band.
Is it
What's he play?
country or
What's he
rock?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's stories of him playing to like previous players and them hating it. They're like
Yeah.
people on the train or on the bus or on the plane or like hate his music, but you gotta listen
But-
to the owner's music.
yeah.
Bro. It's the owner. It's the guy that signs your paychecks. Know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the problem. It's tough when you have ownership that's kind of divisive in that sense, right?
Yeah. So think about this, okay? So thanks to Google, James Dolan took over in 1999. Okay.
Yep.
Up until that point, the Knicks had made the playoffs for 12 straight seasons. Okay. Since then, they've only made the playoffs. Wait, they've only won one playoff series in the past 15 seasons.
Jeez, that's terrible. That's
Like,
terrible.
He's terrible.
That's
and you look at
terrible.
all the moves that they make and all the trades that he allows to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like the thing is, he's the owner, so you can't get rid of him.
Yeah.
But like, that sucks. Like that really sucks because he's obviously not going to sell that team.
It's tough, man. When you have bad ownership like that, it goes to show that sometimes, regardless of how good your organization is, if you don't have good leadership and good belief,
Yeah.
no matter what you do, you're just not going to be successful. And I think certain franchises just have to be fortunate for what they have. As crazy as, like with the Toronto Raptors, even though we have MLS season ownership, it could be worse, right? And I think that's why we have to be fortunate and thankful.
We have
They
a
turned it
great
around.
ownership.
They turned around.
What you talking about, yo?
No, but there was a time though where remember we were
Get
hesitant.
fired, Ben. Don't get fired.
No, but I remember
I
there was a
support
time.
I support
Yeah.
everything MLSE does.
I recall a time in Toronto history where MLSE was known to not be willing to pay contracts,
Yeah.
right? And we've really come to turn that around. We saw that with DeMar first, getting that max deal. Even in other organizations like the Leafs, right? We started seeing Toronto willing to to pay their players. And it's led to some good success in all out of Toronto sports, right? We're starting to see this success now, and that's what we're fortunate about. And being a core organization, they empowered the right people, like Masai Ujiri. Dude, we gotta be thankful.
The thing that's crazy too is he owns a team. He owns the team in the biggest media market in the U.S. Like, probably they're worth the most. I think, right? Like, they're the most highly valued NBA franchise.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna have to pay him so much money if you really want this team from him. If not, why he'll never give it up. Why would you give it up?
There's no incentive to give it up, man. Let's be real. You're gonna have to rip this guy. You're gonna rip it from his hands.
Like, in the grand scheme of things, someone telling him to ban Dolan. Realistically, does he care? I mean, he cares enough.
Yeah.
Because, like Jimmy said, he's a man child.
Yeah.
But realistically, would that force him to sell the team now?
Oh, 100% not. 100% not.
He can't get forced to sell the team unless he
No,
does
he
something
can't.
ridiculous like what
Donald Sterling,
Donald
Yeah,
Sterling.
Donald
the
Sterling
league tries to
level.
push him out. Yeah.
It's really hard to, even
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
like the Phoenix Suns owner.
Oh, yeah, that guy too.
Like it's really hard to.
Sarver?
Yeah, it's really hard to push out these old white owners.
Old money, old money.
Old money. But yeah, no, it's interesting because like I feel like with that whole incident, and then you're looking at what happened with Westbrook in Utah with that fan incident. It's kind of like two extremes, right? You got one side, you got the team owner essentially trying to control fans' expressions with James Dolan, and then you got on the other side, you got essentially the league trying to protect the players from the fans. It's kind of like do you? I guess there is some gray line in terms of like what do you allow fans to say and what you don't. Because like we know by now, we've seen video evidence what that Utah fan said, telling Westbrook to get on his knees like you used to. We know that's inappropriate, like 100%.
Like I'm all for heckling, but you don't need to go to that level to try to stir a reaction from the players. Honestly,
It's terrible, man. I think all of us with a conscience, we know what's right and what's wrong. This guy clearly crossed the line, and I think it's unfortunate to see. But at the same time, I think that's the opportunity of sports. It has a platform to bring issues like this to light, and you can call that out. That's wrong, right? It's good that everyone learns, even as kids. You want to see that behavior in public, and you realize someone has to call out, hey, that's an example of something that's wrong, right? So for better or for worse, I feel like sports brings the opportunity of things like that to be exposed. It's terrible that it happened. Clearly wrong, but at least we all know, and we should all do better.
Yeah, it's hard because the NBA, like one of the great things about the NBA is how close fans can be to the action. Like there's literally
you
right
can
there.
trip a referee, man. Like Jay-Z said,
Players
you
will
can trip a
fall
referee.
into the crowd, right? And that's one of the great things about it. But then obviously, again, with that close interaction with fans, you get the dark side of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true. And, after that incident, a lot of players, even Utah Jazz players like Donovan Mitchell.
Stepped up, man.
Yeah,
Stepped
they
up.
came out. Who was Cephalosha also came out and said that there's been a lot of these incidences, especially in Utah. And it's just sad to see, man, because like Utah, we know they've got a great history, Stockton Malone days. Like they've got traditions, but sometimes it just takes a few fans, man, to ruin
It's
it.
life, man. It's the world we live in, yo. It's 2019. It's 2019, man.
So how do you protect the players? You think there should be a way to protect the players?
There's no way you can protect them, man.
yeah.
It's words.
well, you can protect the players and
What do
just
you mean it's words, Frankie?
ramping up security to like deal with
That's what I mean.
deal with the fan right away.
True.
There's no security to stop people from saying what they're going to say, right? It's freedom of speech. And in today's world, you can't stop people from saying things, right? The only thing we can do as a society is identify that's wrong and shun those people for it. No, I'm serious. Legit. Call it out.
Shame.
Shame. No, for real. You can't have security like stop that person. You know what I mean? Like I think at the end, like I was saying before, it's kind of educational. It's good to remind us that in the world of sports, shit like this still happens in today's age, and we can call it out. We can call it out for what it is, right? I think it's an opportunity, man. Like it's as dark as it might be, it's an opportunity for us to call that stuff out.
I mean, that's what the Utah owner did, right?
Yeah,
She
exactly.
came out and she gave like this whole speech.
I really
about
like
it.
that. I
Yeah, she was
appreciate
really
it.
good.
Yeah,
Really,
she
really
was.
good.
Good
She
for
was.
her. Good for her to do it.
Right? And I think that's what these instances lead opportunities to, right? And like you can't. And that's the thing. We hope that one day it becomes such a great place that everyone's having a good time. That's what you hope for. But I don't think there's anything you can. Come on, man.
Always
Have a
gonna
little bit of
be
belief.
hecklers, yo.
Realistically, like the only way to protect all the players is you have to have like some sort of, like hockey, you have the boards.
True.
Like you have to have some sort of separation from the fans. That's the only way to truly protect someone. Because realistically, you could get.
No,
you
you're
could
right.
buy a courtside ticket.
Another Detroit
and
basketball
run
game,
into the
another Malice in the
yeah.
Palace can happen, right? No, I think the extreme is that, and we've seen it happen. But that takes away from the essence of basketball. I really hope there's never boards.
Yeah, but you're thinking of it as like protecting the players physically, not so just like protecting them from getting heckled.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. You
Like, you
can't
can't stop
present from
heckling.
being. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Right.
You can't,
especially
stop, man.
especially when you involve alcohol in your stadiums and whatever. Like you're not going to protect
Like
people.
soccer in Europe is terrible.
That's next level, right?
terrible.
next
That's
level.
life and death.
Yeah.
That's life and
See,
death.
basketball's not bad. I feel like for the most part, like our heckling is bad, but
Yeah.
it's like but we call it out when it crosses the line. We call it out, and that's what I think that's
like
a good thing on the NBA.
The things that, especially like African soccer players had to deal with in Europe.
yeah, that's bad.
That stuff
That's
that I've
next
read and
level.
I've heard and I've seen,
that's pretty
it
crazy.
takes it to the next level where you see fans like imitating like
Throwing
a
bananas,
monkey,
throwing
Yeah,
bananas
exactly.
on the field. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
next level hate, man.
Savage.
That's next level, right? And that
Hooligan
like,
culture, right?
that's the thing. So I think again, it all comes full circle, right? We're fortunate for what we have in the NBA. It's not terrible, right? And it's good to have opportunities like this for us all to identify that's a bad situation. Never happen again. Fans, NBA fans, be better people, all right? And that's all you
Yeah.
can really come down to.
And good on the Jazz even organization for banning that fan, right? Just
Yo,
to,
you
like,
earn respect
nip-
for Donovan
yeah.
Mitchell, man. For him to step up
Yeah,
like that,
that's
it's
true.
definitely not easy, man. Especially
Steph
calling
Wilshere, too,
calling
yeah.
out his own fans.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I guess we'll keep seeing how fans will keep interacting with the players and how the league keeps protecting players and fans from that respect. On to more basketball. This week, actually the last couple of weeks now, we're getting, I guess, as we start moving towards the playoff picture, we know that right now a lot of teams, they're gearing up for it. They're starting to rest players, and we see now a lot of times why players are getting rested up. Right? We got a couple of key players here that have gotten injured, and we're seeing the implications again. Against their team because of these injuries. So I'm gonna run off a couple of names. You guys tell me in terms of if it's gonna be significant impact on the team or if this is just gonna be kind of minor. So we'll start off. CJ McCollum. We saw him with the knee sprain. We saw him go down. It looked worse than I guess what it actually was. But any implications on the Blazers?
I think this one will be minor. He'll come back before the playoffs, or he's expected to at least. And I think late into the season, it actually gives everyone else a chance to step up. CJ will be fine. He knows his game. He knows how he plays. I think it actually gives everyone else a few minutes just to prepare for the playoffs. So net, I don't think it'll be not too bad.
So I think I'm going to have to disagree just because. So Portland right now is 4th, but only 3 or 2.5 games separate 4th from 8th right now in the West. So if they start losing games and they start falling down the standings, could be bad depending on who they face in the first round.
And they need home court. They're one of those players. They need home
it.
court.
Yeah, they're 26-9 right now at home, so they need home court.
Yeah, and to Frankie's point, like we know in terms of that guard position, they have Seth Curry, they got Rodney Hood, so there are a couple players that can fill that void. But I kind of agree with Mitchell on this. Like CJ McCollum, this guy's one of their 20-something points per game
Second high
scorer.
scorer,
Like
man.
he's
Second high
they
scorer.
need him. They need him to get buckets.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mitch, especially with playoff seeding and how crazy the West is. Like that one small losing streak, and you're just fighting either to try not to play against OKC,
OKC 6th now.
Rockets. Are they still?
They
dropped
were
him.
like
Yeah,
3rd.
yeah.
It's really
Right?
tight. They're only like
Exactly.
1.5, two games in between.
Like
right?
the
So
next
it's tight.
podcast, it could be
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yo, quick question. Do you think Portland gets past the first round this year? Do you think they even win a game?
They'll win
Whoa,
a game.
what?
They'll win a game.
Of course
They got
do,
reverse
man.
swept last year, man.
Yeah, yo, but you know
got
what's crazy though?
That was bad.
No, they've gotten swept twice now in 2 years. There was a stat where they haven't won a playoff game since like 2016 or something.
I think since
Oh,
Aldridge.
wow. But I was reading with Dame. Apparently, he looked at a lot of tape over the summer, and he's readjusting to those blitzes, those double teams quick now.
Yo, don't.
He said he's like,
Listen, Dame can
Alright,
play
man.
50% better. Okay, he still needs a team completely. He needs a
yo,
complete
CJ's
team.
gonna be better. Yo, they're
CJ's two
but
guards,
Portland's better this year, man. And his cancer. Yo, they got
Really?
Seth
You're gonna
Curry
say
coming
Enes
up.
Kanter? That's the first
Rodney
thing you're
Hood.
gonna say.
Yo, but
Enes
I'm
Kanter.
saying a lot of the weaknesses that they had they
With
filled it up.
Ennis Cantor,
No, they still don't have small forward. That's the thing that they need.
they still don't have
like-
a power forward. They still don't really have a center. What positions
Yo,
do they have
Nurkic.
besides the 1 and 2?
Nurkic's
Really?
good. Nurkic's pretty good.
Nurkic is good.
Nurkic is solid,
But they
Come
don't.
on,
They
man.
don't have wing.
They don't have a small
defenders.
forward or
That's the
center?
Afrika
problem.
Minu, yo,
Really?
sleeping, Frankie.
Ben,
You
he gets like
sleeping.
8 points a game, man. 8 to
sleeping.
10 points a game.
Okay, all right. So we gotta keep it moving. Next one we got Malcolm Brogdon, 6 to 8 weeks. What is that? Plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
That this one I would say is a big blow for Bucks. Not only his offense but his perimeter defense as well. And isn't he? What he's still 50, 40, 90 club, right?
Basically.
Borderline.
Yeah, this guy's been killing it for them.
He is.
Is
50,
he?
40, 90 right now.
He is,
Oh,
right?
shit.
Yeah. What do you guys think in terms of the impact on the Bucks? Or you guys think it's gonna be major or minor?
Huge.
Huge, right?
Huge. He's an integral part of that piece coming off the bench.
True.
Like just maintaining that offense and keeping it running, and it's gonna be huge. I didn't even really know that this injury can take you out for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's a severe one, man.
Chris Bosh had it, right?
A lot of people had it, man. Like it's
But
actually
I didn't hear
uncommon.
them being out for 2 months.
It's a very very slow like healing process.
Yeah.
With this that's the problem.
like there's nothing to like actually like cure it, right?
Yeah.
What is it actually? Just like just like the bottom of your foot.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the undergrowth is there's a lot of balance issues and stuff like that, and it's really hard to just protect your foot against.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
why
like
it's
you're
such a
running up
slow-
and down, jumping up and down,
just moving in
Yeah.
general, right? And I think Jimmy, to your point, man, it is going to impact them severely. They're already a pretty guard depleted type of team. Like they rely heavily on Bledsoe right now. Brogdon's a big part of their system.
They signed Tim Frazier.
Yeah, just to get minutes, right? Because they're heavily like they need. That's one of the biggest holes, right? Their guard position. I think is going to impact them pretty. It's going to be a good impact, man. I wonder how it'll play off the seeding because they're only 2 games ahead of the Raps. They might lose first seed, man. We'll see. 6 to 8 weeks is a long time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how they're gonna do. Like in the playoffs, obviously, like yes, you have Giannis, but the thing is, in the playoffs, especially when teams start clamping down solely on Giannis, the good thing about the Bucks is he can drive and kick, and when missing a 43% 3-point shooter hurts, right? So I mean, it's gonna be tough for them.
Yeah, so I mean, with that 6 to 8 week window, he's essentially going to be out for the first round, right? So now, if you're the Bucks, let's say you finish in that top 2, like ideally you'd want to be able to beat whoever the 7-8
So
is.
right now, Nets and the Heat.
Yeah. So and I don't see them having a problem kind of beating those 2 teams without Brogdon. But once you start getting to that second round, that's when you're gonna play possibly Boston, possibly Philly, or Indiana, whichever.
He
But
can't really work out that much, right? With that injury.
Yeah, you can't.
It's tough, man. And just not having the minutes to gel with your team too. It's going to take you time to kind of fit back in, right? So all in all, man, this is going to be a pretty big impact.
Yeah. And then also another East contender, we saw Kyle Lowry go down. We saw Mitchell Robinson roll over his ankle. I guess it didn't. It looked worse again. It looked worse than what it actually was. There's no timetable as of right now, but we know he's listed day to day. And we as Raptors fans, we already know what Kyle Lowry means to the team. But if it's not significant, are you guys worried about this at all?
Was it dirty? Was it dirty?
I
just kind of fell though, right?
It was so fast, you can't really tell.
I don't think it was dirty.
Yeah,
Man.
I
I
think
think, like it the way he fell towards
He
the
had
legs.
he had no chance to get that ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was basically just like, all right, I'm just gonna fall on you.
But you know what? As a fellow Mitchell, and I appreciate his effort. I appreciate the effort.
And he's also a rookie too, right? He's just young. I don't think he
He
knows
didn't know.
better. He doesn't know any better. I hope it's not dirty. I'll just say that. I hope it's not dirty. But to the point, man, I'm hoping it's day to day. Because if it's serious, it's a huge impact to the Raptors. But realistically, from the update, doesn't seem too bad. So hoping he gets back healthy.
You know, I think they should rest him even if he's healthy.
True. I
Make
agree.
sure he's 100%
Yeah.
for the playoffs because you're gonna need him. And like now you have Fred VanVleet who's
Yeah.
just coming back.
He needs
He
he
needs
needs
minutes,
minutes,
man.
man.
right?
He needs minutes. And I think, like you guys mentioned, man, all the guards can use a little more minutes, to be honest. Like, they're all gelling in. If anything, Lowry's the one that can actually take a step back, right? You want these new looks, people to kind of get a few more minutes. True. Who knows? Might be a blessing in disguise.
The
We'll see.
stars are aligning for Linsanity
Yeah.
2.0.
Getting ready, man. Getting
We're
ready.
just waiting, man. Where is
We're
it?
just
We're
waiting.
waiting. Just show us.
Yo, I watched this episode on Open Gym the other day, and it just featured Jeremy Lin. It seems like he's really starting to fit into Toronto, man. Like, he's going to all these food places, going to all these, like, he's playing bowling. He's going all around Markham and stuff like that. I'm like, whoa, this guy's starting to fit in, man. He's taking pictures of all these Asian people.
What's not
the
to love,
Asian
man?
girls? I was like, yo, this guy can be the king here. This guy can be the king.
If he could actually hit some buckets, though.
Yeah.
Make some
only,
layups. Make some
if
layups.
only.
Hit some threes.
Yo, he's got to focus on the game. Yo. He's too distracted, yo. Too much in Toronto for him,
Dangerous,
All
yo.
that bubble
Dangerous.
tea.
He needs to go 0 dark 30, man.
man. Let's go. And then last one, another key injury. We got Dante Exum potentially out for the season now with partially torn patella tendon. And I guess another big blow for the Jazz here.
I feel bad for him. Like, he was drafted, I think, 5th overall.
This kid has talent.
His
His body just breaks down him every single year.
And I actually think like for Utah, like so Ricky Rubio is your starting point guard who obviously has struggled shooting the ball, especially in the playoffs. Last year he hurt his hamstring, so he's always kind of had that injury risk. And then one of his key backup players, Dante Exum, is then injured, and so you don't have him. So Utah's depth, that's the thing I'm worried about going to the playoffs. Like they've been playing a lot better the second half of the season, but Dante Exum, he brings defense, and that's something that Utah needs.
Agreed, man. I think like all the points you said, Utah, they really needed like a solid player off the bench like Dante Exum. But to be absolutely honest, I don't think it's going to make a difference in the playoffs. I think you're going to get bounced in the first round.
Wow.
Like,
Wait, how's that surprising?
How's that surprising, yo? Right now, they're slotted to face either Denver.
Utah and
Maybe
Denver?
OKC.
That's going to be a closer matchup
Yeah.
than you think,
No,
man.
but it's Utah or Golden State. Utah or Golden State. It's one of the others, right? Like if they slip
What
to
do you mean
8,
Utah or Golden State?
yeah, they might fall to 8.
They
They might fall to 8.
They can
But
take
like-
6.
But like we said,
It's
right?
not gonna
Like
get
it's so
six.
close
What do you mean?
between
They're
4
one
and
game
8.
back.
Okay, the top 3 teams between Houston, Denver, and Golden State, they're not beating any of them, man.
Okay,
Let's
so
be
but
real.
what if Utah plays into the 5th position and faces Portland?
Exactly.
We'll see if I don't think that happens. I think they finish, either 7th or 8th. I say they finish 7th or 8th.
Yo, you're forgetting about playoff Mitchell, man.
Yo,
Yo,
we'll
he
see,
gonna
man.
step up.
We'll see. It's unfair though against a stacked top Western seed conference though. Like with Golden State, Denver, and the Houston Rockets as a top 3, it's a very, very uphill battle.
The only one I'm worried about there, like if they face, like for example, Denver, I could see that being a very good series.
That'll be a competitive
Right.
series, but I also
Because-
think it's Denver's year, man.
I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll keep an eye out for these injuries. And yeah, I guess now's the time, like we said, that a lot of teams should start resting their players. And we see LeBron on the Lakers. He's already getting arrested, man. Ain't no playoff implications there though. Speaking of another player, let's transition now. But speaking of another player who's been riddled with injuries, this one we saw Isaiah Thomas returning to the Boston Celtics after 2 seasons. He finally gets his tribute video. What a moment, man! You saw him standing on the sidelines. You saw him essentially just almost in tears, man. He was holding back tears. Boston, after everything they did to him, I guess they gave him a really classy video. Fans came out, they gave him the ovation that he needed, and it was a great moment, man. What do you guys think of that?
I don't think those tears were for the fans and the memories in Boston. I think he's thinking about all the money he could have had if he just didn't play with an injured hip.
Oh, for real, man. He gave it all up for the team. He
He
gave
did.
Literally.
He really
At the
did.
most-
He
Yeah.
really did.
at the most dire moments of his career, at the most dire moments of his life. He put it all on the basketball court, and it just so happened to be the Boston Celtics that were reaping the benefits. And they got probably the best string of performances that he'll ever have in his career. And it breaks my heart that he won't be rewarded for that.
Like, no, honestly, to put up 28 points per game during that
Yeah.
season,
Unreal.
29
unreal.
points.
As like a 5'9"?
nine?
Yeah.
It was honestly something I never would have thought possible. So
Yeah.
Respect to him. It's sad.
It's sad, yeah. And just to put some flesh on that, he averaged 29 points for that season. He averaged 29 points, 6 assists. He made 245 3-pointers. Essentially, we said it was the best season of his career. He led the league in fourth quarter scoring, around 10 points per game. And he was placed 5th in MVP voting that year, right? So we know essentially that was a magical season for him, right? In terms of what he was able to do at that size. We know 5'9". He put up essentially Allen Iverson type of stats for that season, leading them into the playoffs, even winning a series. Even though he's battling, we know that hip injury was severe, and even like off the court, he dealt with the. Can you imagine dealing with the death of your sister?
Yo, he's battling the world, yo. He's
Dealing with the
battling
death
the
of your
world.
sister the day you find out she dies in a car accident, and then the following day, I think it was like her birthday. The following day, he goes on. This guy's crying like on the court. He can barely hold his tears in, and he goes and he drops 53 points in a playoff game, and they win. Like, that's wild, man. You talk about
And
like,
he lost a tooth.
and he lost it too. Yo, this guy literally, like, he gave everything, like, physically, emotionally, like, mentally. He literally gave everything to the organization. And yeah, to Frankie, I agree with you. Like, it's just sad to see that, they, we always say NBA is a business, but man, they did him dirty, man. I'm gonna say it straight up.
You know that whole debate about when Zion got injured, and you'd have people say you gotta keep playing, and other people say shut it down. You don't want to risk it. This is one of those times when you should shut it down and not risk it without getting paid.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is a prime example of if you played through your injury or you kept playing when you don't need to. You basically sacrificed a paycheck.
But it was tough though, because that was like Zion hurt himself in the regular season, right? Like for IT, timing was terrible because it was the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And like we know the NBA's you give glory to players that are able to put out these gutsy performances, that are able to like block out the pain and deliver in big moments. And he did that. He did that without question.
He also had another season too. Like, he wasn't able to re-sign, I think, at the end of that year. He had one more year on his contract before he can get renewed. It was just a tough time. Like,
Do you
it was
think he should just
all
shut it down and just not come back without giving people the answer that they were looking for if he can still play? If he just held off and said, "Oh yeah, he's rehabbing, he's looking good," and then he would probably get a bigger paycheck than get paid $2 million.
And coming back and actually
Yeah,
trying to
right.
play.
Honestly,
Right?
man.
He would have. You're telling me if he just shut it down the whole year afterwards, even after getting traded to the Cavs, he would still get something
He would've.
more than $2 million a year.
Yeah.
That's
right?
true. That's actually a really good
But
point.
then
man.
he gets moved from Cavs to Lakers to gets a mid.
I don't even know where he goes. Yeah,
Right?
now he's in
Yeah,
Denver. It's crazy. You're right, man. If he sat out that entire year with the Cavs before he got traded to the Lakers, like, maybe that would have been better.
And the thing is,
Maybe
too,
that would've been better.
with the season that he had in the regular season, if he, going to the playoffs, if it came out that he has this really bad hip injury and he's not going to play for the playoffs, would that have changed your perception of him at all?
Well, did it?
You know what I mean?
to be absolutely
versus
honest-
him playing in the playoffs with that hip injury, would it actually have changed your perception of him, and you would have thought, oh, he's like weak? Would you have thought that? I wouldn't have thought that.
I don't think he would have been viewed as weak, but I think when it comes to an earning potential, 100% it was better for him to play in those playoffs. Because I think by proving yourself in the playoffs, it's like there's another. You
He
get into a
averaged-
threshold of a dollar
But
value.
okay,
That's
so
next level.
based off of that regular season, he finished 5th in MVP.
It was crazy.
voting.
Don't get me wrong. Season wise, it was crazy.
But Frankie, you're saying that like if he did play well in the playoffs, he would have got paid, but he didn't.
But
though.
I know, agreed.
Right?
That's what I'm trying to say.
So it didn't pan out to what
Yeah.
you were saying though.
But
Honestly,
at the end, but what I'm trying to say is, in that moment, if he had a choice of, hey, I'm potentially injured, do I keep playing right now in the playoffs? I think as a player, and especially as someone who's gone through an injury, you have to do it. You have to play
at the risk of losing.
at the risk. You still do, because those, especially for a player like IT, he has a chip to prove, and he has a point to prove.
But-
he never delivered the performance like that ever in his career. And the fact that we're
Never
still
will.
speaking, and that's the thing, the fact that we're still speaking about him is because he was willing to do it. So even though he didn't get paid, he earned people's respect.
but
That's what
we're-
I'll say.
but we
Respect's
are
not
ta-
going to pay for your
Yeah.
child's
I agree, man.
education.
But I'm saying he
But
earned
it
people's
should.
respect.
It should,
It
though.
should.
Ideally,
That's what
it
I'm trying to
should.
say.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that, right, regardless of whether or not he got paid, he earned the league's respect. I don't
But-
think any other
but-
basketball player is going to say.
But here's the
this guy don't
thing,
deserve it.
yes, he for sure earned respect, but at the same time, whenever someone talks about him now, right, we're not talking about how good is he now. We're talking about what he could have been, and the fact that he missed out on his next contract because he played through it. That's how we're talking about him now. We're not. We're looking back on that season. We're like, oh, what a great season, but it sucks that he got injured and that he never got that next contract, right?
So I kind of I see what you're saying, but I kind of disagree on two things. It's one, because you're right, he did get injured, right? It's if he didn't get injured, like what if he didn't? What if he came
but
back
he was
and so
already
good?
He was
injured.
injured,
Yeah,
and
he
he
was already
decided to
injured,
play
yeah.
through it, right? It's not that he got injured
And then maybe
then
got
that-
worse. Fair. But another point is, I think the reason why he was so good was because of the Boston Celtics. It was because of the system he was playing around. He wasn't necessarily worse when he was on Cleveland because I think he was healthy. There was fragments on Cleveland
pretty
where I thought
bad.
he was healthy. It's just he didn't play well in that system. He's not Isaiah Thomas is not going to play well beside LeBron.
Do you
He's
think?
just
Do you
not.
think that this could be responsible due to like the Boston medical staff where they didn't push hard enough
Oh,
to say
yeah.
you can't play? I'm sure, like upper management was like, let him play. You know what I mean?
They want to win,
Or-
right?
Yeah, they want to win. They haven't been in the playoffs for a while.
Yeah.
Yo,
They're gonna be
Gordon
like-
Hayward's injured, Kyrie Irving's injured. You know what I mean? You needed them to play.
I think, yeah, to that point, like, but you have to give some fault to the medical staff just in terms of, like, maybe they didn't inform IT, like, hey, if you play through this,
Yeah.
your injury is going to be significantly worse. This could be, like, career-ending injury. But, like, we know that on the flip side, like, a lot of players, they have that, like, mentality where it's like, I don't care what the medical staff plays. Like I don't care what the medical
So if
staff
that's the
says.
case, then you can't blame them.
You,
right?
you kind of have
can't.
to give partial like blame to everybody. Like obviously, even Isaiah Thomas, you give a little bit of blame.
But that's
to
the
him.
thing, though. Like he can say all that stuff. Like I don't care. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play. It's always it's onus up to the upper management to say nope. You're not playing. We're shutting you down.
That's
They're
probably
not
true,
going to do
right?
that. They're
I
not
see
going
your
to do
point.
that.
No, but
They're not gonna do
some
that.
players would do. If it was LeBron, it'd be different.
But here's
No,
I mean, like
if
the
it
only
was
person
LeBron,
that
it'd be
can
different.
that can get away with that, I would say, is Kobe. Nobody else will have that saying
You're not gonna
where
question him.
Kobe would be like, "I'm playing through this," and then everyone's like, "All right."
But the thing is, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to the player, right? Because like, especially in a playoff series, upper management isn't going to tell you, "Hey, sit this guy out." They want to win,
For
and
sure.
like, and even I think when he found out the news about his sister dying, everybody told him, "Hey, the decision is yours if you want to play or not."
But you should
he
take that
just-
decision out of his hands. You know what I mean?
But-
If he's actually
can't-
I see what
jeopardizing,
Jimmy's saying. If
If,
you're
he's actually
thinking- yeah.
jeopardizing, he's not actually thinking of like long term. He's thinking short term. He wants to play.
Jimmy's talking to like a drunk boxer, right? If someone's getting beat in the ring,
Yeah.
you take him out for his own good because they don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is Isaiah's kind of in the same situation where he doesn't know any better. He doesn't know what's
the thing is,
for his own
right?
good.
Like I agree with that, but at the end of the day, if we're saying that the NBA is a business, and Boston Celtics, they're an employer. They want the
100%.
best for
Trying to
the
get
company.
money.
They're not. They don't care about how they get there. They just want to win, right?
It's all about them shareholders.
so
Yeah.
they're gonna look out for their best interests.
I agree.
Right?
That's kind of along those same lines where I don't think upper management would have said anything. We know the type of character Danny Ainge is. Like he only cares about his own players. But that was one. I'm not gonna lie. That was one of those moments when I saw that they traded him. It kind of made me hate the NBA a little bit, just in terms of it being as a business. Because we always say, it's just business. It's just business. But like, there's a right way to do business and there's a wrong way, right? So
It's brutal, man. And I totally hear what you're saying, Ben. But at the end of the day, more money, more problems, man. And the success of the league.
or no money, no problem.
Yo,
No money, more problems, for him.
So Ben, but on that, okay, let's one interesting debate that we've had, over the last week, just internally, was how great of a season Isaiah Thomas had, and whether or not he deserved to get paid.
100%.
100%.
100%.
We had a good Twitter poll question. We had a good Instagram question. Did Isaiah Thomas deserve a max contract?
If he didn't get injured, would he have gotten a max contract?
Ben, tell me, man.
Hold on. So we threw it on social media. We got 58% of the voters said he would have gotten a max contract. 42%.
I gotta
said-
audit that, man. I gotta audit that. It
And-
started
and
off
it's-
like
it's on-
58% of those votes came from Ben.
I know.
Straight, yo,
Burner accounts.
shout out to my burner accounts. We also threw that on Twitter too. So and the
59% said that he earned it.
59, right?
Yo, Ben, you're everywhere, man. Yo,
So
Twitter accounts too, bro.
so more than half thought that he should have gotten max, and I think this does come down to a debate, right? Because like both sides, we've seen how he turned out, like we've seen the player he is now, but this is my case, okay? So you're looking at a player. I already mentioned the stats that you put on that season, right? This was a player in his 3 years in Boston. He only got better. He kept getting better. He started off when he first joined Boston 2014 to 2015. He was averaging 19 points per game. Every single year, this guy got better across all categories. 19 points, 22 points, and then that last season, he was averaging 29 points. There was no signs of him slowing down. And at that age, he was 27, entering his prime. And you could say all you want about his defense, his lack of size in his defense, but what he did offensively, this guy was elite. You know, and in the NBA, you reward players for being elite. This guy was, they called him Mr. Fourth Quarter for a reason. He was delivering on the offensive end. He was their playmaking. He was their scorer, and he was coming up clutch. The fact that he was able to drop 53 points the day after he found out that his sister died in a car accident, battling all the injuries he had, and even helping them win a playoff series when they needed him most, like that's something that like very few players, very few NBA superstars can do, right? So I think that season catapulted him to that superstar like kind of level. And when you're at that level, man, especially if he didn't get injured, I 100%, if Boston wasn't willing to throw the max at him, I'm pretty sure another team would have. Because there were no signs of him slowing down. If he didn't get, let's be real, if he didn't get injured, and you saw everything that he did, he has the gutsiness, he has the leadership, he has the elite scoring. Like, you can surround him with defenders, which is what Boston did. So, all right, that's why I think he should have gotten max, which y'all got.
So I'm not going to argue about any of those points. Like, I can't.
What you got, man?
I can't, because all those things are true, what you said, right? Like, he was elite on offense, and he was putting up amazing numbers, especially for someone his size. But it's because of that size where I would have given him a max. So you sent an article around to us about, it was a score article, and one of the key things that they pointed out was a player like Isaiah Thomas and his size, everything had to be perfect for him to be, scoring at that elite level. He could not have, if he lost any of that athleticism or quickness, he would not be that same player, especially someone at that size and with that many defensive liabilities. So the fact that he did lose that, and the thing is, like, to me, you're not going to give a max contract to a guy that hinges so heavily on his physical gifts, which he wasn't blessed with height, right? Let's be real. He was quick, but that was it. In the moment you have an injury that you lose that quickness.
But this is, we're talking about assuming he didn't get injured. So this is what
But
we're talking
even then,
about.
like 27
Even
years
then.
old.
Yeah. 27, you're going into your prime. You're not old.
You're
at
in your
27.
prime. He was in his prime, right?
Yeah.
But again, the thing is, like, all players will always get banged up at some point, right? Everyone does.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead. So, okay, actually,
Well,
let me
those are
jump
good points,
in. Let me
man.
jump in. So, before you move on, say on that topic about size, I agree with you that it's hard to reward players who are small, right? Like, you have to make it up in other ways. But we've seen in the past, we've seen players like Allen Iverson, 6'1". We've seen players like Steve Nash, 6'3", 6'2", and again, he was not athletic.
But that's
These
a
guys are not
huge
athletic.
difference compared
They're
to Isaiah
bringing
Thomas
up
at 5'9".
Hall of Fame MVP players to compare to
Two-time
IT
MVP.
that did it for 1 year.
But who's to say
1
that?
year.
But who's to say that if he
Who's to
didn't
say
get
he won't?
injured, that he wouldn't have
This
continued
is
on?
what
That's what I'm saying.
we're saying what ifs right now. I can fight back with what ifs.
Okay.
Now, what if he grew 10 more inches?
Okay.
Magical.
It's really like,
Yeah.
like honestly, like Allen Iverson did that from the start of his career, right? And you're comparing that. You're basically diminishing what Allen Iverson has done when IT's
Comparing,
only done
yeah.
it for 1 year. Steve Nash is a 2-time MVP. You know,
Changed the game. Steve Nash changed the way the game is
He
played.
put up historic numbers.
He
Like,
changed
did.
the
He
pace of the
did. He
NBA.
did.
Okay, Steve Nash changed the pace of the
because
NBA.
even if you said if hypothetically, he doesn't get injured, you're just saying another team would offer him that max money. The way Boston was built was basically built around IT to cover all of his weaknesses, right? You had everyone there that would cover all his weaknesses, your wing defenders, Al Horford, everybody. But if you had another random team, just sign him just because we have money, let's sign him. Like let's say
the Knicks. or
Knicks
something.
signed him. How many pieces do you need to grab to fill in those holes just to make IT shine? It's really hard because then basically I would say basically IT benefited the most out of that system
Oh, 100%.
Sure.
100%.
because they had so many years to keep building. They had it was his third year that he
Yeah.
had his career,
Yeah.
so they had 3 years to build around IT because then they're like, okay, you know what, he's our focal point, and then like those first 2 years, how well did he play?
They're going through a dark era too. After blowing up the big three, they weren't necessarily tanking, but they were going through a rebranding era, right? So that's kind of why Isaiah Thomas was able to fit. So, and to your earlier point, all those points are correct, like 100%. No one's going to take anything away from IT. he earned the respect of everyone across the league. But your question of whether or not he should have gotten max, Jimmy said it right. There's a lot of teams that would have gave him max because they had money. Did he deserve it? That's where I got to say no. And I think it really comes down to really just one thing. Consistent performance is clear, but beyond it all, the way he got those 29 points a game, the way he scored, the way he played, was he had to be at zero margin of error every second. He was taking some of the most difficult shots, man. Like if you watch those fourth quarter games, it was ridiculous. It was like circus shot after circus shot after circus shot. It was incredible that he was hitting it. But realistically, great players don't need that. Great players make the game easy, and he did not make the game easy. That was like the hardest game to succeed in. Yet
But that's just his playing style.
But that's not sustainable. That's the thing, right? Like great players, like Michael Jordan, like Kobe, they adapt to games. The game's easy for them. They can score at will. Isaiah Thomas has to do everything right and make zero mistakes just to be there, right? And I think that's what ultimately separates a true max player. I don't think Isaiah Thomas ever would have gotten there, man. Like beyond the size, beyond all that, just the way he played, it's like you have to be perfect every minute of the game just to be relevant, you know. And
So yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
I
man.
agree. I agree with that, and I think obviously like we can go on for a while, but like what I was saying is just relative to the rest of the league in terms of you've seen a lot of players that get max that don't deserve max. So when you look at the overall level of the field, like knowing what he did that year. And you're right, Frankie. The margin of error, like Frankie mentioned, you guys mentioned, like based on his size, the margin of error is super small. But like for him to, like leading up to that point, that was his playing style, and he did it well. He did it well in Phoenix. He did it well in Sacramento. Like he's had success with that, and like it was just he was finally able to kind of start pulling everything together in a system that fit him. And it's just that's why I think like he delivered in that system, whether or not that system was catered to him. He delivered on his end, and I think like he should have gotten rewarded for that. So
he should have gotten rewarded, man. But would he have deserved a max contract? That's where I got to say no.
Okay, so with that, let's transition a little bit now because we're talking about max players. We're talking about players that deserve or don't deserve the max contract. So why don't we'll give a little bit of flesh to this, but let's pull up the definition for max contracts and super max, and we'll try to. Try to match that.
All right, so a max contract in the NBA, what is that defined as? It's a player who has qualified as either one All-NBA team, either a Defensive Player of the Year, or an MVP in the previous season. Or he earned that reward 2 of the past 3 seasons. And the last critical point, he must have been signed by the team who drafted him.
So that's where Supermax, right?
Comes in. Yes.
That's where the Supermax comes in.
That's what we're talking about, the Supermax.
If we're talking just about max contracts, it's literally just any team can offer anybody the maximum allowable salary based on the number of years that they've been in the league, right?
Agreed. Yep.
But to your point, the super max, those are very difficult milestones to hit.
So again, players who qualify for those certain all leading NBA records or leading NBA awards, if you qualify for those, you're eligible for the Supermax. When we talk about what that really entails and how much money that encompasses, that's essentially a third of the salary cap, which is crazy if you think about it, right? That's a huge designation for any team to make. We've kind of had a debate amongst ourselves and just looking at the league right now of how many players currently have a max contract, whether they deserve it or not. Do we want to quickly go through, Current contracts and what do you think? Good ones right now?
Yeah. Let's do that. So let's start from the top. We got we'll go with the players that we think or that we'll go around, but players like LeBron James, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, should these guys get max?
They're getting not enough money.
They're underpaid.
Not enough money.
And then along that same tier, you got Paul George, even like Nikola Jokic. These guys, I think, are undeniable in terms of the value they add to the team. I guess as we're talking about this, like from a player standpoint, like we kind of took a look at the definitions, but like, how would you what kind of aspects, what kind of characteristics do you think players should have to be determined a max player? Like, do you think it should be like one player per team that should be able to get a max? Do you think it's certain stats that they have to put up to qualify as a max player, or it's just like intangibles, or what is it?
So I like what the NBA did with the designated player rule. I like that because then it allows teams to keep, like, if you draft a really good player and they develop into a max type player, you can offer them the most amount of money because you can offer them that extra year, right? So to me, I like that rule. To me, what like a max contract type of player is, it's someone that you know that if you have this player on your team, you will always have a chance to win. That to me is like type of play. Like again, when you list off players like LeBron James, Steph Curry, obviously these are max players, but I think the reason why is because if they're in the game, if they're on your team, you know that you always have a chance of winning.
Yeah, and I think a key defining point too is that they're consistent, not just game to game, but season to season. I think that's a huge distinction because like a lot of players can do well in certain moments, but to do it consistently, I think that's what separates like good from great.
I want to go through my definition of what a max player should be. Is can this player be the number one option on a contender? Like if he's number one, like definitively, like if you
Contender or championship team?
sorry, championship team. If he's the number one, like no question, he's number one option. If you put him on, if you say Steph Curry, James Harden is on your team as a number one option, he should be able to get a max contract kind of thing.
So what? Okay, so then we're talking about max. So would you say that a max player is the same as a franchise player, or is there a difference?
Similar.
Yeah.
To get that type of money, like as a
Because-
franchise player, like that's what they've been doing this whole time, throwing that money out to anyone that's the face of the franchise, right?
Because I think that what's interesting is that like I think it's safe to say that most franchise players will get max, but most max players might not be franchise players.
Agree.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right.
And I think that's just due to the way our league is structured now. We have teams that are saturated with talent. Instead of being dispersed across, or theoretically, if there's a star for every franchise, 30 franchise players, 30 stars. But nowadays, in order to win, you see these stars grouping together, right? So they can't necessarily be a franchise player anymore, right? And that's kind of the tough distinction because in order to win, it's so much more difficult now.
Yeah, like I mean, like to Jimmy's point, not all players, for example, like how many players are there really that you could say would be the number one option on a championship team? There's so few of those types of guys, right? So, like you said, there's a very big difference between a franchise player who the franchise decides to give a lot of money to keep people coming to the games versus a LeBron James or Steph
Like a
Curry,
true
right?
max
like a
player.
true play,
Yeah.
like a true max.
Yeah, because on the flip side of that, right, we've seen some bad max contracts. Okay, and to quickly name a few, I hate to say this, Andrew Wiggins.
What? You hate
Rough
to say it?
contract. I hate to say it.
Overrated.
I was hoping he'd be good,
Canadians.
man. I know, as Team Canada, I hope he'd make it, man. Another one is my boy, John Wall. Woo.
How
Bad-
much does that hurt?
Dude,
to say?
let's be fair, okay? He is acting like, oh my goodness, man. You
don't-
take the
no,
injury
no,
away.
no, no.
Don't even try to defend that. Don't even try.
He's getting so much money, though. Like, he's going to get 40-something mil a year.
His
going to
his
be
max hasn't even kicked in yet.
unreal.
But
It kicks in next
Yeah.
season.
It's gonna be unreal. Like, listen, all the power to him, man. He earned like from hoop mixtape to that. Like, good for this kid. Seriously, from that high school hoop mixtape to what he's getting now, I gotta give it to him. Go get that money. Go get that paper. I'm not saying he earned it. I'm not saying he's worth it, but he earned it. Okay, like let's be real. He earned that money.
Yo, if John Wall can get Supermax, IT should have gotten max.
Yo, get out of here, Ben. Not
IT
even.
should have gotten
Agree.
max.
What?
Yes,
Are you
bitch.
kidding?
Yes.
The reach is close.
Yeah.
Okay, but John Wall's a max player. Is he a super max? Maybe not.
No, see,
Okay,
He's not. I wouldn't even give him a max.
dude, he's
Borderline.
25-30 mil.
But see, that's the thing too.
John
right?
Wall's max.
He's
John
max.
Wall's max.
Let's
I'm
be
not gonna
real.
hate too much, but
Yeah,
John Wall's
come on,
max.
man.
But this is the thing, right? Like,
Is he
okay,
super
these
max?
guys got max contracts. Like, why did the team give them? Why did they feel they
Paying
had
for
to
loyalty.
give them
They're paying for
max
loyalty.
contract?
Then why did Boston pay for loyalty, fam?
Because that's different. He didn't draft him either. They couldn't have paid him super
That's
max.
because Boston had options.
Yeah,
okay?
Boston got
options.
had
True,
options.
Boston got
okay?
options.
If you don't have options, you gotta
Yeah,
wife it.
That's
You gotta
true.
wife it.
yeah.
If you don't have options, you gotta wife it, right?
Washington was trying to fix it, man. They're coming off the Gilbert Arenas
Yeah.
era. They're trying to fix it, right? And
Oh, they made a huge mistake with Gilbert Arenas too.
yeah, they already made
They're,
it.
they're just there's back-to-back
Just
mistakes.
throwing
Back to
out max
back.
contracts
Like,
like nothing.
They're
you
trying
know?
to fix it, right?
They
Let's
wiped Gilbert Arenas. That went bad. Get a divorce. They say, "Oh, John Wall's a new guy." All right, boom, another disaster.
Yeah, on that, what's worse, okay? John Wall or Chandler Parsons?
Chandler
4-year, $94 million. How, like, has he played a significant game since he's gotten that contract? I don't think so, right? Like, he hasn't
No.
played one significant game.
He's had a few actually not bad games this year.
Yo, Chandler Parsons
But-
pump faked his way to that contract, man.
Bro, how did he get paid?
No, but the thing is, he got 2 big contracts though.
One from Dallas.
Yeah, one from Dallas and then one from
And then-
Memphis.
Yeah, then Memphis. I don't.
Like
that
he
was
got him
crazy.
twice. He hit him with a
got him
pump fake
twice,
twice.
And wasn't he injured for most of it too? I think he was
Yeah,
injured
yeah,
for a lot of
yeah.
Dallas.
It was.
Oh my goodness.
That's because with Memphis had money to burn, and they're like, we need to get somebody, and he was the best option
Yeah.
they can get.
And I think that's actually a good point because like when you're looking at like these players, like we know for a fact they did not deserve max, but it's like sometimes you're right. It's based on the timing, based on the options, and based on the team. If the team's got salary, like you look at a team like Phoenix, they got tons of money to burn. You got New York, tons of money to burn. If no one's able to, if they're not able to attract a max,
They
then
got
you just
no
pay
options,
someone
man.
else.
Do you think
Pay
it's
someone else.
because basically with the contract, when the whole salary cap, if they don't use it, they lose it?
It's not that they lose it. It's just the fact that hey, we have the opportunity. to
Like, why can't you
possibly
just
invest
like,
in a player.
okay, you know what? I don't want to give you, this type of contract. Like, they felt like they're inclined to. They have they have the cap space.
Yeah.
Why not use it?
There's
why,
also a
why not
floor.
just like
Yeah.
if you don't use it, you can bank it for like whatever.
You actually can't bank that. There actually is a rule in the NBA where if you have unused salary space, it gets redistributed into like
To the
league-wide
rest of the
income.
league,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's kind of why it incentivizes
To
teams
the rest
use,
of the league? Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Yeah, it gets spread.
You have to hit like the minimum salary floor.
Yeah.
Oh.
But to be
If
fair,
not,
I
you pay the rest.
Yeah, like I don't think they would have been at the floor. Who knows? But that's kind of what incentivizes teams to use all their money.
But you know what? So say someone like Andrew Wiggins, right? Who we can all probably say right now, that's a bad max contract.
Yo, he's Team
But
Canada, man.
It's terrible.
But this is the thing, right? Like someone like Minnesota, who definitely was, people were like, this is going to be one of the best young teams in a few years. You're paying a guy hoping that he develops.
You're paying for
right?
potential.
Like you look at someone like DeMar DeRozan in Toronto when they first gave him that first big contract, he wasn't that good yet, but he played his way and developed his way into that. So then you have teams who are hoping that a player develops.
Yeah.
Because again, like none of these guys we can definitely say had that amazing season that they deserve a max. John Wall included, right?
I think that leads to a really good debate, man. And I think on that, we can kind of discuss current players right now that have debatable max contracts. And there's quite a few. Like, I'm not sure if you want to start anywhere, but hey, Mike Conley's a good example. A current player. He was the highest played player for a few minutes.
This guy got paid.
He got paid.
150
LeBron.
or
it was
150
ridiculous, man.
for
It was right after DeMar. DeMar got
5
paid
years?
for a minute. He was the max played, and then it was Mike Conley, and then LeBron came around. But Mike Conley, man, I can't. I think in the moment it wasn't surprising for him to get max, but I think seeing the injury go through, I think that's what kind of puts a damper. But in the moment, I think he deserved it, man. I can't say when he was leading Memphis on that run, he didn't deserve a max contract.
The only thing is like I agree because he's a really good point guard when he's healthy.
Low turnovers, smart decision making.
But the thing is that Memphis team, I mean, you were centered around Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, two players who were definitely getting older, and Memphis didn't really have a path to get that much better.
Yeah.
Yet they still gave the contract.
Yeah. You know why he got paid, man? Mike Conley was one of those players where like he was just lucky in terms of the position he was. I think the Grizzlies, they didn't want to lose him, so they decided to just pay him.
True.
Like and like you said, like if you don't pay a certain amount of salary, you lose it. But like, I guess there are those type of players where it's just like, if you don't pay him, someone else will.
Yeah.
So you might as well overpay him to keep him,
Yep.
and instead of letting him walk.
Because he's definitely an example of if you didn't max him, another team would have
Exactly,
maxed him.
exactly.
Right? So it's tough. And if you're looking at Memphis, that's the best option they had at the time.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to get another star point guard. Just
But
signed
whether or
for
not
him.
he deserved it, I don't think he deserved it, man.
Yeah, with those low market teams, like you had to do it.
You have to.
It's their only option. They're not gonna let Conley walk in hopes that they're gonna sign a big free agent on the market.
So we're going to say not a true max not a max contract, not a true max contract.
Nah.
Nah.
Agreed.
What's another questionable one, guys? What's another questionable
So
one?
Blake Griffin, right, with the
Okay.
Clippers, they signed that contract, gave him the whole, the whole presentation. Your name's gonna be in the rafters, and then they traded him. So they signed to this max contract to get rid of him. Should he have deserved it? To me, I would say at the time, no. I think with Detroit though, he's changed as a player. Like he's taking threes now, and that was like the biggest thing he couldn't shoot. Is he still a max contract player? I think if you're Detroit, he's the type of player, again, like they're not going to get a huge free agent to join that team. I think he's played his way into now, like, yeah, he is a max player, but I think when he's at the Clippers, no.
No, I agree. I think when he was on the Clippers, it was part of the show. Like, it was the Lake Show. It was like, what, the Clip Show, right? You have Chris
Lob
Paul,
City.
DeAndre Jordan, Lob
Lob
City.
City.
It was a fun time for everyone involved, and he put butts in those seats, right? Like, you got to give it to him. He earned the money then. But I totally agree to your points, man. On Detroit, he's just emerged as a leader, and I can't say he doesn't. Like, he is a legit max player. I
Like
will
if
say
Blake
that.
was this good as he is now with Lob City, like
that would have been a different game.
It would have been completely different.
You know what it was? It was CP3, man. He couldn't play with CP3. Like, for some reason, those two didn't get along. The talent's always been there, and now you see when he goes to Detroit, like when he's able to blossom and quote unquote be the man. He has a talent, and he's putting up career highs this year, right? Like, so I totally agree. Like,
he had to play like a certain way with CP3. He's like, I just need you to be a pick and roll big that can just lob it to and just pass it to you. But now that you have him on Detroit, he's adapted his game.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, he knows his athleticism going down a bit. He's like, you know what? Let me start spreading the floor, making plays for my team. So now looking back, he probably does deserve that contract. I would say.
I agree, and he was still young too, right? Like, there's players that you pay because for the potential. Yeah. So I think all around we said he does deserve max. Another player, this one's kind of questionable. Otto Porter Jr.
Yeah, that's easy, man. He definitely don't deserve a max contract. Let's keep it real. Like, we can keep it moving on this one. This guy, he had what 1.5 good seasons with the Washington Wizards, and similar to John Wall, they had no one else to pay. And I think that was also during the year when there was like a huge jump in the salary cap. So this guy got money. Like, it was like Luol Deng year, right? I think the same year as the Luol Deng year, the Timothy Mozgov year. This guy got paid at the right time. And again, it's a team with no options. They were desperate.
When he's basically leading his own team as the highest paid contract, when you had a Bradley Beal and a John Wall, that says a lot.
They threw money, but he's another one of those players. Now that he's in Chicago, man, he's another building block for them, right?
Is he really though?
Him,
Is
Zach
he really
LaVine,
so?
they got
It's
some
like-
young guys.
He got paid a max, but I don't think any of us would say he would be the second best player on a championship team, right? Like, he's like a third option, and he's a really good third option. But the fact that you pay him this contract and then you trade him like a season, 2 seasons later, yeah, that
tough
sucks.
I want to end this round of discussions with one last player, DeMar DeRozan. Is he deserving, or is he a true max player?
Well, we talked about this, man. I think this one's gonna be a sensitive one.
I think I feel like he's linked to like someone like Conley in that type of tier where, we didn't want to let him go, but we had to give him that money, and then we traded him for better. True. We had options.
I still think he is a true max. He's not a franchise player, but he's a true max. Because like franchise players, it's tough to put him in that category. Like look at the Spurs now. You got him and Aldridge. Are both of those guys max? I would say so. Are both of those guys franchise players? Probably not.
I think that Jimmy's definition earlier of whether or not he'd be adding value to a contending championship team.
Yeah. If he's number one,
100%. Oh
no.
yeah,
The
not number
unfor-
one.
The unfortunate truth is maybe not even number 3 because the way he plays, he can't be a third option. Like he wouldn't be great even as a secondary option. Like the fact that he can't necessarily space the floor, it's really tough to have a player of his style thrive in a championship team in today's NBA.
But say if your number one option is like a guy who's just like a 3-point bomber, right? Like that covers for his weakness as a perimeter shooter.
right.
Like
Maybe-
him and Steph. Him and
Steph. But
I think he's
Steph is number one though.
no, Steph is the.
but the thing is, like, you can't when
don't
players
think
like
he pairs
when
well.
players like Steph and LeBron, they're always gonna be number one.
Then
You,
that's
you,
why,
you can't
though.
put like even if you put like a Paul George next to them, like you can't like that philosophy is hard because there's only like 5 maybe like
Unless you go like
a
1A,
handful of
1B,
guys.
but then if there's a solid number one, then
This is where I kind of disagree because to that example, if DeMar played with Steph would be a lot worse. And I think that's kind of the problem. Like you can't on a true championship team, DeMar can't like at best he can be the third option. Because if he is the second option, you're not going to do well. Like he can only be third, maybe even fourth. Like seriously, you
Wow.
put him on the Golden State Warriors right now.
Wow.
He can't.
Yo,
Like I love DeMar.
Frankie sipping on that haterade,
No, but
yo.
for real, I love DeMar, but I think that's kind of the magic we've seen, right? Like you can't just have one good 3-point shooter. You have to pair them up, if not 3 times them, right? Just to be effective. You need people to space the floor effectively. And DeMar, his game is not transition well. Only in the Spurs, they've changed their system to play kind of around what they have right now. And I don't think they're going to be a championship team, though. As good as the Spurs play, they're not going to be a championship team this year, right? This is the peak of DeMar DeRozan. And there's no way they're going to be a championship team.
So, Frankie, does DeMar DeRozan deserve a max contract?
I think he's the gatekeeper. He's like the ultimate gatekeeper. He's like on the fringe of deserving it, but to the real definition, he is not a true max player. I'm sorry, DeMar. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What about Chris Paul? Chris Paul got paid.
I
He
think
got paid.
Yo, he deserves it, man. He's
no,
Hall of
no,
Famer.
no,
34
no, no,
at
no, no,
34?
no,
Famer,
no,
man.
no,
4
no,
years,
no,
what,
no,
160?
no.
Chris Paul, he's one of the
Definitely
league leader
no,
in
no,
steals.
definitely no. Frankie, how many years?
Don't matter, man.
How many
he's
years
the
is he getting?
definition.
4
of
years.
point
4
guard.
years.
man.
How much is he paying?
4 years, 160, yo.
You're gonna pay
He's gonna be 38 years old. at
30
the end
years.
of
How much you gonna give a 38-year-old Chris Paul? How much?
I'm looking it up.
Like
Pulling
40
it up.
mil? 40 mil a year, pretty much.
So it was a 4-year, 160 million. So
40
it's around
mil a
like
year.
45 probably at the end of that.
Frankie, as a franchise, as an organization, you're paying a 38-year-old Chris Paul. How is that? How is that a smart move?
Yo, you also get Cliff Paul with that too, though.
State
That was-
Farm Insurance.
I am a huge proponent of not paying an aging star that type of money. It cripples you long term.
But the thing
Cripples.
is, his game is predicated on not needing athleticism. He's the definition of a point guard, right? Like it's
He's an all-time point guard.
all-time
for
point
sure.
guard. He's like one of the best we'll ever see. Realistically, he's like top 5 point guards we'll ever see because he does everything: low turnovers, smart decision making, lethal shooting, great pass. Like the kid is solid. And if he only see it, the only downside is his health. That's the only downside.
Then that
pretty
should
big
that
downside.
That's
should
the
have been-
only.
that should have been the huge proponent
That's
of
the
why you shouldn't
only-
give him that type of money, right?
Like as you get older,
if he's already at this point getting that injured, how is he going to keep his body up at 38?
That's true.
He's probably going to play 20 games. If not, he's going to sit him out the whole season and just try to see if he can do anything in the playoffs.
I mean, the thing is, even though he was older, they're 1 game away. Like
They were.
Dude, he's
Yeah.
putting up numbers.
if he
this year
didn't
too,
get
man.
injured, most likely they would have beat Golden State, and most likely they would have won a championship.
What'd you say about that,
But-
Jimmy? What'd you say about that,
But
Jimmy?
it was
But-
that help though.
But then to be paying him until he's 38 years old,
I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve the money now. Like, yeah, pay him for 40 million, whatever. I'm talking about when he's 38 years old. I would have offered him 2 years. Take it or leave it.
Yo,
2 years.
He wouldn't
Who's
take
his
it,
agent,
though.
yo? Who's his
He
agent?
wouldn't take that.
Can
You
we,
know what I mean?
can we
Then
find
go.
out who's his agent, yo?
Then go, because you're pairing him up with Harden's window, and Harden's window has a lot longer than Chris Paul, right? Like if he doesn't
Yeah.
want that 2 years, he can go find it
and
somewhere
you know
else.
what? To Jimmy's point too, like yes, he's 34 right now, or 33, turning 34. Like pay him, but the thing is, when you look at contracts and you're like, oh, that's a bad contract, it's always because they're either too old or they got injured. Chris Paul, most likely that's going to happen. Like he's going to get injured probably again, and he's going to be too old.
I think that's tough. You're putting the team in a tough position because if they didn't give him the max and max years, they wouldn't have been able to keep Chris Paul. And like we all just
sure.
said, he's worth the money right now.
Yeah.
So that's why the team has to take the gamble.
And he cashed it in. He cashed it in. His
yo,
stock was
he did it
high, and he
right.
cashed it
He
in.
did it well. To be fair, Chris Paul, cheers to this kid. He did it well, man. Like the question is, does he deserve to be a max player right now? I think no doubt. He is one of the best point guards even today in the league. So I think there's no doubt. The duration of his contract, that's debatable. But right here, right now, he's a legit max player.
He has kind of like with him, it's kind of similar to a LeBron type situation, right? LeBron right now, he's worth every single penny. But you're looking at
Yo, he's still
38-year-old
worth-
LeBron.
He'll still be worth that money.
You're gonna pay
But
LeBron.
who would you rather have at 38 years old? LeBron,
6'9",
LeBron,
Paul.
100%.
6'9",
No, but-
260.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
6'9",
A 38-year-old, 6'9", 260.
He's
He's
still
already
worth that
getting
money.
injured.
He's
He's
still
already
worth that
getting
money.
injured.
And the thing is too, like yes, he doesn't have like eye-popping athleticism, but he's quick, and he's still quick, and he
And
uses
he's-
that
and
quickness,
crafty,
right?
and he's
And he's
Yeah.
smart, man. He like, just smart decision making.
But that's the
kind
type of
like-
thing, though, that like again, that could decline as he gets older. his speed and his quickness will get old.
Lastly on this, I think this is what ultimately separates Isaiah Thomas and Chris Paul, true max player, right? Is the fact that he was able to adapt his game and he's able to be crafty, man. It's a sustainable game. He's got a sustainable way of playing, something that Isaiah Thomas wasn't able to match.
Yo, Isaiah Thomas never got the chance, yo. His hip gave out. Hip gave out. All right, cool. And let's look forward because we know this upcoming summer there's a ton of free agents, man. Like a lot of big names hitting that market. I'm gonna run through a list of players. You guys let me know at the end who do you think deserves a max. All right, so let's start at the top of the list. We got KD. We know he's hitting free agent. Jimmy Butler. We got Klay Thompson, DeMarcus Cousins, Tobias Harris, Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker, and Raptors Kawhi Leonard. So these are probably arguably maybe what the top 8, top 9 names to hit the free agent market. I guess who out of these do you think deserves the max, or who doesn't deserve the max?
Wait, so I want to clarify this question. Is it who do you think is a legit max player, or who do you think will get a max?
Both. Let's do both. Do both.
I think Klay Thompson will get a max contract. I don't think he deserves it, but I do think he will. I think he probably re-signs with the Golden State Warriors this year.
For sure.
Right? That's 99% chance. And he'll get max, right? He'll get the max. Because if they don't, it's kind of disrespectful to do that to Klay Thompson. But the real question is, does he deserve it? I think it's really tough, man. We talked about the top players in the league who truly deserve a max contract. Names like James Harden, Paul George, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic. I can't see Klay Thompson being at that level, right? And I think he's kind of like that borderline max contract. He doesn't necessarily. He's only so good because of the team he's with, and because of that, I don't think he deserves. Like, he's not a true max player.
But see, like, to me, to your point, like you just said, right? Like, the best team that he could be on is the Warriors, and he's on that team, and he can re-sign with that team for the max. Mm-hmm. So to me, like, he's going to get it, no doubt, and there's no way he's going to leave that team. He's not going to. He's going to go down as the second best shooter in history.
In history?
In NBA history.
Better than Ray Allen?
100%.
Yes.
Better than wow. You guys think
100%.
Klay Thompson?
No, Frank.
Better than Reggie Miller?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Like, so you're like, to me, you have to max him, especially with the Warriors. You have to.
But the thing is, okay, so I agree in that he fills his role, and within his role, he excels in it. But if you're looking at the Warriors already, like, do you really max him out? You got Steph that's going to be max.
You have to.
You're
going
to have to max out KD.
And then you're going to max. He's going to leave.
First of all, KD's leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to have money to burn. So obviously they're going to max Klay.
So assuming KD resigns from max, then Draymond, Draymond's coming up on the horizon.
Well, Draymond not going to get that money.
max.
Look at the way he's playing.
So you would throw Klay Thompson that
Golden
max.
State, if they're going to keep Golden State, if Golden State's going to keep Klay Thompson, they can only give him the max. Because if they don't, it'll be disrespectful.
I don't
or
think
another
he's
team
gonna
will
get
take
the
him.
max. I think
He
he's
will
going to
want-
sign
have to.
lower.
He's already taking a pay cut, man.
There's going to be a
He's already
huge
taking a
list
pay
of
cut.
teams that's going to throw max at Klay. 100%. 100%.
I feel like he's going to want to stay with the Warriors at a discount.
Yeah. What?
I feel like he's going to want to.
And hold on, I want to take a step back too. Mitchell, second best shooter in the history of the NBA.
Yes.
Who's number one?
Steph Curry?
Who do you
What?
think is
Is
number one, dude?
Debatable?
Who's number two? You tell me James Harden is not better
No.
than Klay Thompson as a
No.
shooter?
Yo, Frankie, what you smoking, bro?
No.
I don't know, man. You don't think James Harden is a better shooter?
We're talking about a
No.
shooter and not a player.
Yeah. Not a
Okay.
shot creator, like
Yo,
creating his own shot.
I think we
shooter.
gotta
Just
take
three-point
away
shooter.
the Henny from
James Harden's
from
up there, man. In
Frankie.
terms of volume, like in terms of 3-pointers made,
Okay, so who would you trust to shoot a 3-pointer for you? James Harden or Klay Thompson?
it depends. Like, if it's catch and shoot, Klay Thompson. But if it's like through defenders, James Harden. 100%. In terms of here's a defender.
But
in
you
your
don't need
face.
that, right? Again, Klay doesn't need that.
But that's
And like you said, within
fine.
the system.
In terms of a pure shooter, fine. In terms of a pure shooter, no one guarding him, fine. Klay Thompson.
No,
in
it's
terms of
not
perfect
the
form.
thing is, though,
but
it's-
if you have in the NBA situation who's a better shooter, I gotta say James Harden.
I would definitely go Klay.
I don't know, man. I think like you add. I disagree. I
Frankie,
think James Harden shoots
Frankie. James Harden this season is shooting 35.5% from
But how
three.
many
On
three-pointers he made?
volume,
But
on
how
On
many
volume.
volume.
But how many
Klay
3-pointers he made,
Thompson
though?
is shooting 41%.
But look at how many 3-pointers he's made. And like I think shooting is not just about the percentage, right? It's about the situations and being able to
But
shoot.
the thing, so I think to distinguish this, I think what you're looking at it is who is the better scorer From a better
Fair.
scorer perspective, yeah, James Harden's a better scorer. But if you're just talking about pure shooting, Clay's a better pure shooter.
Yo, Frankie, how many 3-point contests has James Harden even entered?
Yeah.
Let alone one. Yo, don't.
Like it's going
Fair
to
enough,
at
fair
the end of
enough,
the
fair
day,
enough.
in after they're all retired, it's going to be Steph number 1, Clay number 2.
Fair.
I agree.
In that sense, in terms of that fundamental, fine. Fair enough.
Okay, we fully digress on that. Okay, so Klay Thompson. Okay, who else you got? Mitch, from that list, who else you got?
I think out of the list, Jimmy Butler is the type of guy that's going to get a max contract, but should not get a max contract. Just because, again, he comes with a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
And I think that he can't be the number 1 option on a championship team. I don't think he can even be number 2. But I think he's obviously an amazing number 3 scorer. If you see him on Philly, like, again, he's really good for that team because you need that shot creator. But in terms of importance, it's always going to be Embiid, Simmons, and then Jimmy Butler. But again, I think if you're Philly and you're trying to keep that whole team together and you're trying to keep that big 4, you have to give him the max to keep him.
I think Jimmy Butler's pretty solid. To your point, though, he should get max, man. Like, I think at his peak, he is good. Not good, great, both sides of the floor. Right? Like, we've seen flashes. His offense might not necessarily be, like, the most consistent, but his defense is always there. And I think that's what kind of, like, I was hesitant, too. You're right. I don't think he's, like, the greatest player on a championship team, but his defense is what really makes him so valuable. And I think it's hard to devalue that, man. That's one of the more valuable traits of a max player, his defense. And I got to reward that.
See, so for me, the tough thing about him is we saw what would happen if he was the leader of Chicago. Mm-hmm. We saw what happened when he's a leader of the Wolves. He left those teams
Yo, I'm not saying he's a
in
good
ruins.
Jimmy
Not
Butler is
saying-
a solid number 2 option.
Yeah.
Let's say, don't say he's a good leader.
Solid number 2.
Yeah.
If there was someone even more alpha than Jimmy Butler, great team.
Yep.
Right? But then if he's the alpha, then it's going to fall apart because no one's really going to follow him because he doesn't have the accolades to back up everything he wants to do. Right?
He'd be great behind LeBron. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like someone that he respects and looks up to that's bigger
The
and more
Lakers?
proven.
You think he would? You
He
think
could.
Lakers
That would
would
be
offer him a
crazy.
max?
The Lakers
probably-
100% would give
yeah.
him max.
Lakers got money to
100%,
burn,
man.
too.
If Butler second option and say like that's the only free agent they get,
That's
Is
a
that a championship
solid
team?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
No.
You need to fill
That could
second
be.
option, right?
That
He's a
could be.
second
Yeah,
a
option
second
there.
option.
That
but
could
you
be a
still need
second
to
best,
fill-
depending how Golden State shapes up. Like, say KD leaves. Who knows? Like, LeBron and Jimmy Butler as the helm, and you got all these young stars that are coming up, and they possibly get another big trade with all the money they still have. That's a tough one, man.
That one's tough.
You know what I mean? That's a good team. That's a great team.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the same thing like Tobias Harris, right? Like
No.
Nah,
Nah.
I think he's one of those that are like,
Nah.
nah.
But if you're Philly and you need to keep that big 4 together,
He ain't getting that max deal.
You can't.
Even Philly
Can't
don't give him that
four
max
maxes
deal.
though. You got
He-
Ben
he-
Simmons.
They don't have
He's
max,
the
but
they
those
can't.
are rookie
They-
contracts.
they're just
Like,
going to go
yeah,
into huge luxury tax.
Yeah.
But
No, you
Elton
can't.
Brand has already come out and said that ownership
it.
is ready to do that.
The thing is, like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are still on rookie deals, right? That's why they're able.
They're
to
saying
give
this
those two
now
max.
before the playoff, outcome. If they struggle in the playoffs, you think they're still going to keep this 4 together? If it didn't work, this experiment didn't work.
So
I'm not gonna say it.
if you're Philly and you want to keep one of Butler or
Yeah, I was
Harris,
gonna
Oh,
say,
Butler.
between Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris, who
Butler
deserves
easily,
maximum?
hands down, Jimmy Butler.
I
Tobias
agree with
Harris.
that. Oh,
Yeah. I think he works well more so with Embiid and Ben Simmons than Jimmy Butler.
But Jimmy
They-
Butler's a better overall player, though, man.
No,
He's
well, I
a
don't
true
know.
all-star.
I agree with
He's
Frankie, man.
like right now, but then like there's so many reports of him butting heads with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Like, why do you need that headache? Like Tobias Harris can just seamlessly fit in as your 3 slot.
He's a cool dude, man.
and
But
Harris was almost an all like he's playing at an all-star level in the
great.
West, right? Butler didn't make the all-star team when he was with the Wolves, did he?
I don't
think
so.
he did.
I don't think he did. It's tough in the West, man.
Yeah, but one thing Jimmy Butler has that Tobias Harris doesn't. Jimmy Butler's a closer. He's a defensive lockdown and he's a closer.
Clutch buckets, man.
Yeah.
Clutch buckets.
I'd still give Jimmy Butler a max, man. I agree with you, Frankie. I agree.
You know what I think is another debatable one? Kemba Walker. He's definitely been on some fire on Charlotte, man. The way he's played in the last few years, I feel like he's really carved a niche for himself as a lethal scorer and just instant offense, right? As a free agent, I think he's going to get a lot of offers. But is he a true max player? That's the question.
He's in the same tier as DeMar DeRozan and Mike Conley. That small market team, they're gonna throw mad money at him just to keep him. Same tier.
I agree. I mean, like, I can't imagine him being number one option on like a contender. I mean, that's what he already is, right? And they're not a contender.
Yeah, and right now because I guess Charlotte also has the system built around him, right? Like they
so
built
bad.
it, yeah. And
Charlotte's
that's why.
bad.
That's why his stats right now he's putting up monster numbers. But
25 points.
They are inflated. They are
6
inflated
assists.
because they got nobody else that's.
He's
really
good
gonna be able
though.
to
Like
score.
he's good.
So do you guys think he will get a max contract though?
Yes.
Only
Have
in
to, I think,
only
if
in
you're Charlotte.
Charlotte. Only in Charlotte. I think if you're a contender, you don't give him max.
But then that's the thing too. There's going to be teams this season that are going to miss out on that top super max level player, and you're going to have this cap space.
Yeah.
You're probably going to see some
it.
bad contracts. Like,
And then I guess the last one, DeMarcus Cousins, man, a player that's coming back off a significant injury.
No. No.
What if he plays well in the playoffs? What if he plays well in the playoffs?
How can he with one ball?
Yeah, that's fine. Well,
With one ball?
But the thing is, yeah, what if he dominates inside? Yeah, we already seen his improved 3-point shooting, his playmaking.
Ben, why do you keep bringing up what ifs?
Yo, I'm just saying he's playing right now.
There's so many what ifs.
He's
with
been
your
playing
arguments.
well. He's been playing
But
well.
we've seen what he's done so far, and with what he's limited to do. You know, like people are saying that Golden State plays better without him on the floor. You know what I mean?
so the thing is, so realistically, this is his first season. He's not like first season back from an Achilles. Like for a big man, that's never you barely ever see players come back, and he's I think outperformed most expectations on how good he would be.
I'll just give him like a contract like JV. You know, just earn it.
That's tough, man. I think like
I could see a team.
I see him getting a max contract, right? Some teams are going to gamble. The smart thing might be for DeMarcus to take like 1 year and kind of prove himself again. But realistically, some teams will give him a max deal. We'll give him like a 4 or 5 year deal, and it'd be smart for him to take it.
But
in the short time he's played, he's shown flashes, man. He's still a 7-footer. He's still got fundamentals. He's still got footwork, man. He might have lost his athleticism just a bit, but he's got a very
he's not
well-developed
100%.
game.
Like there's no way he's
not
100%.
Yeah, exactly. He's still working his way back too.
But
Right?
the only thing with Cousins is when you see him on the floor, 100% all the other team does is attack him and pick and rolls. And the only thing is, like, when you see him in the playoffs, there's definitely going to be games where he doesn't play or he plays like 10 minutes because he can't stay on the floor.
We'll see what happens, man.
Can you give him max or something like
when
that?
they play against Rockets, he's gonna get exposed.
Yeah.
With James Harden and Clint Capella, he's gonna get exposed. He's gonna ride that bench.
But to be fair, he's getting better and better, right? And
But do you max someone like that, though?
I
Especially in
think- I already
today's
said no.
NBA.
I already
some
said no.
teams, I think you have to. Okay, so let's put it like this way: say the Raps lose Kawhi Leonard, do you not go for DeMarcus Cousins?
No.
I hope not.
I can't see why we don't. He's
Why?
a legitimate 7-footer with moves to be effective. His defense might not be there.
with a bum Achilles.
But he can get better.
He
Right? He can
and
get
he's
better.
on his road to recovery. He's on his road
Right.
to recovery.
So is John Wall. You want John Wall?
That's different.
no,
man.
but John
No,
Wall's had his
yeah,
chances.
yeah,
So
yeah.
here's the thing. So
John Wall's not 7
had his
feet.
chances.
Okay.
Listen, John Wall ain't 7 feet. Okay, DeMarcus Cousins is 7
Yeah,
feet.
but
tall.
okay, 7 feet and can get exposed in every single defensive possession.
But he's getting better.
Every possession.
He's
But
healthy.
even if
Yeah,
he's
Gordon
at his
Hayward's
max
getting
speed,
better, eh?
even at DeMarcus Cousins' max speed that he's ever been in his entire life, he will always get. This will always be an issue for him. Always.
I think that's
he's
tough.
not known as a winner, Frankie. It's proven. Look, the Kings just had more wins without him than all those years with him.
Yo, but his stats are undeniable though. For his career, he's averaging
On a
21
bad team.
Yo, but 21 points
On a
11
bad team.
boards.
But see, this is the thing.
3 assists. 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks.
Are you signing him to build winning basketball? You're not.
with a max contract.
You're just throwing money at him just so that you
Like-
can get people in the seats just to watch basketball, regular season basketball.
He's elite on offense, I would say for sure. But that defensive side, I think it's too much of a liability to commit that much money and years to a max contract.
But I think you guys are asking. So I think there's a difference between the ideal player and like a max player. Like you can still give out a player that's got weaknesses. You can still pay them max if they make up for it in other aspects. Like no one's saying that he's the perfect player, right? Like you're looking at like most of these players here, like even Kevin Durant. Like sometimes he's got.
But Kevin Durant's like
So here's the thing. But,
you break it down like this, okay? There's two things: whether or not he will get the max, and whether or not he deserves it. The answer to that question is, I think he will get the max. Does he deserve it? No. It's kind of like Chandler Parsons, right? If he can get the max contract, any of these guys get the max contract. Okay, do they deserve it?
I think if
and
you
Isaiah
throw,
Thomas
if you
should
throw,
have max contract.
if you throw like around maybe 20 mil a year to DeMarcus Cousins, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
But if you're starting going into the 30 million range,
Because that's
then
what he's
not,
eligible for. He's eligible for like 30.
right?
30
I always give him like
million.
like 4 years, 20 million.
Yeah, because
$80 million, no problem, right? But if you're going to the max where you're giving them 30, 35 a year, it's not worth it.
it's a
Like
similar
even
thing-
Ibaka's getting 20 million. So if Ibaka can get 20 million, then okay, fine. Give Cousins 20
even
million.
Wall Dang is getting 25 mil right now. I think. All right, so
It's similar to IT. It's the exact same type of situation as Isaiah Thomas. Except that he didn't play through the injury. He got injured.
yeah,
But he's coming back from an injury, trying to play his way back.
Mm-hmm.
Will he get a max? I don't.
Let's not look at. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Compared
Elite
to
on offense.
Isaiah Thomas,
No, but they're both elite
It's
on
a little bit
offense, right?
unfair.
One's bigger than the other, but they were both elite on offense and liabilities on defense.
I
but
think with Cousins, like he has to. I don't think it makes sense for him to do another 1 year qualifying because, like, I think his window now, especially with Golden State, if they could win a championship, he has to cash that
for
in
sure.
as much as possible.
if a team gives him the max contract, he's not going to say no.
And seeing what happened with IT, the longer you wait it out, like if you're not back 100%, like teams aren't going to throw money at you. All right, cool. So we got lots of heated discussions on this, lots to talk about, but I think we're gonna cap it there. I know this episode we ran a little bit longer than usual, but lots of good discussions. Any closing thoughts from any of you guys?
Ben, where's our shot time, man?
I know.
Bro, we gotta
been
look at
waiting.
the wall of L's again, man. We gotta look.
The wall of lambs. Let's go. Let's go.
Yo,
Get
you've
it
been
called out,
Yo,
yo.
you've been drinking too much Henny, bro. I gotta cut you off. All right, cool. If there's nothing else, we'll catch everybody next time. We're closing in on playoffs time. Teams are starting to gear up. Positioning is happening across the board.
12 games left in the season, man. It's going to be a good last stretch.
Yep. So everybody stay tuned, stay locked in. Obviously, you guys can connect with us on social media. We're going to keep throwing these little polls here and there just to see everybody's take on that. And, of course, you can find us on molebucketpodcast.com, which is our website. Everything is up in there. If there's nothing else, we'll catch everybody next time. Until then, keep getting buckets.
Peace.